Well, Jen, thank you for being here. Me and you go way back, actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking this morning, and I was like, okay, so my little bit of background on me, for people that don't know, I've been at His Hands for almost 20 years now. I got hired here in 2007. So we're like 18, a little over 18 years, because that was early 2007. And it's, later in 2025 as we're recording this. And I was the youth pastor. I did high school and junior high.
Mm-hmm.
But then about a year in, they also added children's ministry to me. And I had no idea what I was doing. I really didn't know what I was doing at all. But children, I didn't have kids yet. And like little kids were more intimidating to me than anything. And so I started doing the kids stuff. And pretty soon I was like, man, I need to get some great volunteers. And I really needed some like moms who are fun, but also had some authority. Like I was like, and we called it the room, I think we call it the room leader role.
Yeah.
And you were one of my like original room leaders. What year would that have been, roughly?
It had to be, we started coming here at 2011.
Okay.
And it was right around that time when I started getting involved. So it had to be around that time.
Okay.
Because he was in the tree house.
Yeah.
And you guys were always asking for volunteers.
We were always, we still are.
Yeah.
Kids volunteers have never been, I don't know any churches like, we have too many kids volunteers. It's
correct.
We have a lot of kids.
So.
Yeah. And so I got to know you because you came in. And you were awesome. You were one of my room leaders. I would always look at you in the back of the room if there was a kid who was like losing it. And I'd be like, and you were on it. And so, that's how I got to know you. I'm not sure what your experience was like being a room leader. It was probably a little, chaotic and crazy.
It was at times, but that's just the joy of working with kids.
That's right.
Guess, they keep us on our toes. But it was a great way just to get connected at the church, starting the volunteers.
Yeah, no. Well, you were.
Sorry, my throat was.
Oh, I thought you were getting emotional.
No,
I was like, oh, you cared that much about being a room leader that.
No, sorry, I just
I was like,
have
wow.
to pause whenever I have like.
No, you're
my
fine.
throat.
I love that. I was sitting here. I was like, oh man, I didn't mean. I don't want to make you cry this early.
Not yet.
Not yet. No.
Anyway. Thank you.
Boom. Zach with the water. That's
he knows.
that Zach. He does more than just record and edit. He is. He's the concierge of this whole experience. That's awesome. Yeah.
I didn't want to like in front of the mic.
Oh, trust me, you're totally okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were my room leader. You and a few other ladies did an awesome job of that. That's how I first got to know you.
Yes, and it was a great experience. I got involved with the church. We got to know more people. Just being there in the tree house with the kids. Yeah. There was times where it was challenging, and there were times that we had a lot of joy. Just seeing the kids come in and laughing and having a great time.
We did have a good time. They still do.
And they still do.
And how old were your kids at that time?
My kids were babies.
They were like,
Yeah. Well, I only had Christopher. Well, Christopher was, both of them were in the baby section. Yeah. Yeah.
And they've grown up here now.
Yeah, this has been home. This has been their church since they were babies.
And they're high school, like...
Christopher is in high school, 9th grade, and Sophia's 8th grade.
Okay, I'm about to say, I knew they were right on that high school, junior high.
Yes.
So you've got kids grow up here and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this has been home for us.
Well, I'm super grateful that it is your home. It's my home too. And, we were just talking beforehand and praying, and I'm just really grateful God brought you guys here because you've been an incredible family. And, your involvement here really took a turn, and I'll tell like my version of it, and I want to hear what you remember. This would have been probably, I don't know, 2015 or 16, somewhere in that range, if I'm thinking right. We had really felt, we'd never done missions as a church. We'd never done anything beyond, we did a lot of community outreach, but we'd never gone beyond our community. And just really felt like it was time. I was reading a book at the time. I can't remember the name of the book, and it was talking about missions, and I really felt reading it kind of convicted, like we should be doing this, and like it's time. And so I actually had a buddy that used to go to His Hands, and he had moved to Colorado and started working in a missions organization. And so I was like, let me reach out to him. He's a great guy. And he told me what they were doing with the organization, and I'm not going to use the organization's name. We'll talk about that later. But it was like, hey, this is a cool match. I know this guy. I trust this guy. And we met with them, and they're like, yes, here's what we do. They facilitate churches in America having missions relationships with ministries in other countries. And they're basically saying, we're not just going to go take trips. We want to have long-term relationships. And I was like, great. And then our first thing was to figure out where we were supposed to go. And so I had a few people praying with me, and we really felt they worked in Africa, Kenya. I knew they did a lot of work there. Uganda, Russia. They do Russia, and then Guatemala.
And Guatemala.
And so we prayed, and we were like, Guatemala, that's where we're going to go. We had no idea beyond that. So one day, there was a meeting after church with some small group leaders, I think, and you guys were
the home group.
Yeah.
Home group leaders.
Yeah, you guys were on that. And I was just talking in the corner with a person, and they were asking me about missions. And I said, well, actually, we're going to be starting something soon. We don't know what it's going to be, but we're probably going to be in Guatemala. And I wasn't talking loud.
Right.
And I think, was it you or Eric?
Eric.
Okay, Eric, your husband.
Yeah.
He just goes, did I hear Guatemala?
Yes.
And I was like, yeah. And so here's what I was saying. And he goes, well, you know that Jenn is from Guatemala, right? And I didn't know that. Like I knew, or I'd forgotten about it.
I don't think we really have shared that. No.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden I'm like, well, do you guys think you might be interested in going to Guatemala? Because we got to figure out, what are we going to do in Guatemala?
Right.
And so what was that like for you when Eric told you? I'm not sure. I can't remember all the details.
So the funny part of that, though, is Eric came after he talked to you. 'Cause it was a lunch for the home group leaders. And at that time in our lives, I had it in my heart already that we wanted to start a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
But with the business at that point,
yeah, because you run a very successful and very demanding business.
Thanks.
So.
Yeah. And so it was, we're still growing, and it required a lot of both of our times, especially mine. And so I've had it in my heart. We wanted to do it, but it was not the right time for us. And then this came up of the conversation between you and Eric of the mission trips. And so it was like, maybe this is just what I'm called to do. It's not to really have a nonprofit, but it is to be part and help, to be able to help the people in Guatemala. And then what the odds of being that country, because that's where I've always wanted to go back and help.
Yeah,
growing up there.
The odds of that country plus our church, and even the fact that you were at that meeting where early on I just happened to whisper it to somebody and your husband hears it and it's like whatever. And I didn't know that. And so, and forgive me for that because I never really asked you about, I knew you weren't originally from the United States.
Right.
We just hadn't talked about it in detail. Yeah. So like, tell us that story. I mean, you were born, in Guatemala. Were you born here?
So I was born in Guatemala.
Okay.
My dad grew up in California.
Yeah, because I knew you went back and forth.
Yeah, so I lived in California when I was little, and then we moved back to Guatemala when I was almost 5.
Okay.
So my older brother was born in California.
Okay.
And so then my younger brother and I were born in Guatemala.
Okay.
So when I was born, my parents went back to California, and I lived there for a while.
All right.
And then when my mom got pregnant with my younger brother, we moved back and we stayed there.
Okay.
And so I grew up in Guatemala.
So you lived in Guatemala from the time you were 5
until my 20s, early 20s.
Okay. And you got a lot of family in Guatemala?
Yeah. My whole life was in Guatemala, school, friends, everything. Okay. My best friend still lives in Guatemala. Okay. So, yeah. And so I just grew up there in a small town in the Pacific coast side of it.
Okay.
So I'm about 2.5 hours, 3 hours from the city without traffic.
Which in my experiences, the times I've been to Guatemala, without traffic doesn't exist.
Correct.
That's not a thing.
It's just not a thing.
Yeah. You think Atlanta traffic is bad? Those are the people who live where we live. In Atlanta, traffic is bad.
It is bad.
It is not.
Not
Guatemala
compared
bad.
to that.
I remember, in fact, we'll probably get to this later, but I remember the first trip we were on, we were in this bus, and I just couldn't process what was happening on the roads. And I asked our interpreter, guide, Ernesto.
Oh, yeah.
Or Nestor is what we call it.
Nestor.
Yeah, Nestor. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, hey, are there like traffic violations? Like, can you get pulled over and be given a traffic ticket here? And he laughed. He's like, no, there's just no way you could,
no.
It's just basically like herding cattle. You know what I mean? So anyway, so you live there from the time you're about 4 or 5 all the way into your 20s.
My 20s. Yeah. And then, I moved here to Atlanta.
Okay.
I came here to visit because my dad's sister lives here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she invited me to come over. And so I came to visit, and then I found a job.
Okay. So you're just going to take a trip.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to take time off from back home, from life back there.
Yeah.
And then I found a job, started working, and then I met Eric.
Okay.
And then
And he swept you off your feet?
He sure did.
Yeah,
and so the rest is history, because then him and I dated for 5 years, and then it was the 5-year engagement, actually, because we got engaged, and then we stayed together, and then the rest is history. We've been married. Yeah. Well, we've been known each other for a little over 20 years now.
What year did you guys get married?
2006.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really close to when Megan and I. We were 2005. So,
okay, so yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. So, and when you grew up in Guatemala, I mean, if I'm getting the timeline right, that would have been a pretty interesting time to live in Guatemala, because that would have been shortly after the Civil War. They had because there was, a couple decades that were defined by really violent civil war in Guatemala.
Like
and that
early 90s?
Yeah, early 90s is when that kind of wrapped up. And so you would have been living there like kind of in that time
era.
period. Yeah. What was life like in Guatemala for you as a kid?
It was, because I grew up in a small town, it was kind of safe. I never really felt anything weird. However, my parents probably were more exposed to it, but they tried to keep us.
They kept you insulated,
away from it. But we were not really allowed to just go out and things like that, like what would normally you would think that you could do.
Yeah.
But nowadays, even you can't do it anyways. And traveling to we knew traveling at night was not safe.
Right.
So we will always, if we had to go to the city, try not to travel at night.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because it's just a different culture in the sense that when we've gone, it's pretty much understood that the government systems are just very corrupt.
Yeah.
Right. So even like the police department, whatever stereotypes you can think of like a corrupt police department, you see movies in America like the sheriff's really corrupt and the deputies are all right. It's like that's kind of how.
That's very
kind of how
legit.
it is there.
It is. The police department is very corrupt. The government is very corrupt. From what I've learned and heard now, as I gotten older, it's just the police is really bought by the drug cartels.
Yeah.
It's just human trafficking is a big thing in
Guatemala. Human trafficking, drugs.
The government is all connected, which is, it's sad. The gangs are a big thing now, and then it's even worse than even growing up.
Yeah. I know the gang activity, and it's everything has consequences. So even like the immigration policy in our country really affects those things.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so when you send a lot of people back, and a lot of those people, whatever percentage of people were gang members or they join a gang when they get back because they don't have a job. It all compounds, and that's where these issues are so complex.
Yeah.
I remember thinking when I was there the first time, I'm a pretty idealistic person, and I'm like, we can solve problems. And then you get there, and you're like, wow, okay, the problems are very. What do you even?
They're very. This is a big challenge. It's all like a spider web.
It is. It's like a tangled mess. So there's not like, oh, we'll just do this and it'll fix it. Not true. It's very deeply complex problems.
No, but on that note, going to the center, I think part of it is education and just having that safe place that the community can count on that is making a small change. It's like that mustard seed change that we can't change the whole country, but just changing one or two people that we're touching. Yeah.
And maybe changing a generation.
And changing that generation, it's making a difference for the country, or at least that area. Yeah. That then one or two people from there will go and make a difference there.
Yeah, and we're seeing that, I know for sure. So let's go back. You're in the room. We hear about your husband hears. Eric's like, Guatemala. Tell me more. And so bring you guys in. And I was super excited because I thought, wow. I mean, we felt led to Guatemala for a variety of reasons, but never thought we have someone in our church. And it's not just someone in our church. Like, you're someone that I knew, had worked with. You guys were small group leaders. We had a relationship with you all. We trusted you guys. Eric's awesome. He is great. He is so great. And And so one of the first steps we had was to go with this, again, with this other missions organization, which we will not name. And we went on a trip, and they called it a vision trip. And the purpose of the trip was to figure out what ministry in Guatemala we were going to work with, because they had a variety of, and I actually liked their filters. It was like, we want you guys to work with an organization that's already doing something. It's not organizations that go, we need someone to give us money and we'll start a ministry. No, these people have already started.
Established.
They just need someone to support them. And it's more about coming alongside local leaders there,
right,
versus us going in and thinking
we'll fix the problem.
We'll fix the problem. No, this is us, bolstering people already working within that to do it. And so we went, you went on that vision trip.
Yes.
The first one, you and Eric both.
Yes, both of us went.
And we were basically like traveling around Guatemala.
Yes.
Rural places, urban areas, and we were interviewing potential ministry partners. And I'll never forget Eric on that trip, because I think that was right about the time the show Shark Tank had come out, and it was like really popular. I mean, it still
Probably.
is. It still is popular, but it was like the early days.
Yeah.
And I'm so blown away by what these people are all doing. I felt like all the meetings, I was like, so, man, how are you doing? Like, tell me. And Eric, I mean, he was asking questions as if these people were making a pitch for us to be venture capitalists in there. I mean, he was like, so tell me, what's your 5-year strategy? And what I'm seeing is, with the current model you have, if this continues like this, well, what's going to happen once? And some of the people were not prepared for the level of questioning that Eric had. And I really appreciated that. I wasn't like, Eric, cut it out. Because I was like, no, we do need to be really discerning. And correct me if I'm wrong, the way I remember is we saw a bunch of, I remember all the places we went. But then we had to come together as a team, and there were like 5 or 6 of us.
Yeah.
And pray about which group we were going to go with. And it was really between the group we work with now,
right,
and this really rural village that we had gone to. And that rural school, in some ways, I remember for me, and this maybe exposes my inexperience and just cultural, ignorance. Yeah. It very much more, the rural place fit more of like the mental picture I had of missions. It was like
in the middle of nowhere,
kind of squalor, and kids that were living in, I remember there was like a kid that was just running around totally naked when we were there. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And it was very, very poor.
Yeah.
But also very like, it felt like a place we could come in and we could build a building and we could do things that were like, we put in a well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that. So it felt very like obvious what to do.
Like what the missions
correct
call for.
And I remember one of the ladies on our trip was very set, like that's who we were supposed to work with.
That's the place.
And then we had this other ministry that was totally the opposite. It was in the outskirts of Guatemala City in an incredibly urban, densely populated area with heavily influenced by gangs.
Yeah.
Kids were really living very exposed to violence. Yeah. They were hungry. They were in poverty, but it was like urban poverty.
Right.
And so, there's like cars zooming by left and right, and yet these kids are hungry and they're not able to keep up in school because the whole school system is a whole different thing. And I remember like, these are 2 totally different ministries. Yeah. But if I'm thinking right, a couple people were like, I think we should do the rural one, and that made sense. But I think you and I and Eric were like, I think we're supposed to work with Mimi, who is the woman that was running that ministry. What was it about? And even if you were like, no, I thought we were supposed to be the other one, whatever. We prayed about it.
Yeah.
But I think I remember, though, you guys were really excited about her. What was it about Mimi and the actual ministry that we've been working with for years? What was it that impressed you about them?
So thanks to Eric and all the questions that he asked, which it's his gift. And I think that's what makes us who we are.
That's probably really fun to be married to him when he asks
really
that. That's what I'm saying. He's like, he thinks things through. He's thorough.
Yeah, we both have our strengths and weaknesses, and I think we kind of like help each other with that. Yeah. But with that vision and understanding, so Mimi's vision of they are a community. They're not just for the children. So when we talk to them and the questions were being asked to them, and Mimi and Pastor William, it was they had a clear vision. And even though they did not know how they were going to make it happen, they had the faith. Yeah. One thing that it really comes from them is their faith. Like, and hearing their story of not having food, eggs that morning. I don't know if you remember that story that Mimi shared with us.
I'll never forget. Yeah. Tell it if you remember.
They didn't have food for that meal for the kids that day, or one of the times, and they didn't have the money to buy eggs. But somehow somebody came and gave them the food, the money, or they donated the eggs. I don't remember clear the story, but just hearing that and walking alongside her, hearing the story and her faith on how God provided, because all they had was prayer.
Yes.
And they pray over it, and it was provided. And seeing that connection, I was able to connect with her and them on that faith, and understanding their vision of this ministry, their ministry. It was just not like, okay, we're here to feed the kids and then we're done.
Right.
It's like they come and they are fed and then we're done. No, they are there for the kids and the community.
And the families,
And the families 24/7. Yeah. Somebody needs something, and we could see it. And now that we've been partnering with them, we can see that. Somebody's roof falls, they figured out how to fix it. Or
somebody needs a surgery.
Yeah.
And the kids are often the kids are the entry point, because
Correct.
The organization we work with is a kind of an education center for children, and young kids come for a time and they get tutored and fed.
Yes.
Because a lot of these kids are hungry. I mean, good luck.
That's the only meal that they get.
That's the only meal they get every day. And like, how are you supposed to stay ahead in your classes when you're starving?
Right.
When you're so hungry that you can't think.
Mm-hmm.
And so they feed the kids, and then they teach the kids and help the kids stay, keep up with school, which is really hard there.
Right. And they provide with the school supplies too. They
provide
help
with school
them,
supplies.
which is
That's
another
right.
thing.
Yeah, a lot of kids can't go to school because they don't have this. They don't
supplies.
They don't have paper. I don't have a pencil.
Right.
So they provide supplies, all that, and then the older kids come later and do the same exact thing. So they're working with multiple generations at a time. And a lot of times, right, their entry point into a family's life is this child, and they do it all for free. These families don't pay.
Correct.
And then, they find out that family has like a death happened in the family. I remember when we were there when I was there the last time, there was a little girl that I was playing with, and she was the sweetest little girl. I mean, just bright-eyed and just beautiful. And we went to a park, and all the kids were playing soccer, but I don't know how to play soccer, football.
That's the main
And they were good.
sport.
They were good. I was like, man, I'm going to get... But there was a little basketball goal, and I was like, I know basketball, so I was playing basketball, and this little girl started wanting to play, and I was showing her how to shoot, and she was just really fun. And then afterwards, I found out, they said, hey, we haven't seen her smile like that in a long time. Her dad committed suicide not that long ago, and she's been really sad ever since. It was like this heartbreaking story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And these kids, very few of them have dual parent homes, right? A lot of them being taken care of by
grandmother.
Yeah, and if they get sick, they just miss a month of school.
Right.
Because they don't get well fast. They're malnourished. They don't have access to medicine. And so a stomach bug for us is like, oh, you're going to miss 2 days of school. But for them, that's like...
Could be weeks.
So the situations are so heavy. And I remember with Mimi, it was like this combination of faith. I remember another story she taught about some kids wanted food, but they didn't think they had any. They just have this little propane tank.
Oh, I remember Burley.
It was like they had a propane tank grill kind of thing, like flat top. And that's what they cooked all their eggs and
their
tortillas. I mean, that's mainly what they eat. And they were like, we don't have any gas. And they prayed. And they turned it on, and it lit. But then it stayed like that for a long time. And earlier they had been out of gas, like it wouldn't turn on. And God just kind of like a story in the Bible.
Yeah.
So it was a faith, but also obedience.
Yes.
Like Mimi's sharp, and she could go get a really good job in Guatemala City and live a very comfortable life by those standards.
Correct.
And she's turned that down time and time again to stay with these kids and put her own family in harm's way.
Correct.
Because the gang violence there is real.
It is.
We've had multiple kids part of the program that have been killed.
Unfortunately.
Even one recently.
Correct.
Yeah, that was what, a 13-year-old that died?
13-year-old.
Like a week ago?
Yes.
He was shot, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And that's a kid that's part of our center.
He is part of the church. Do you want me to tell the story?
Yeah, tell the story there, because there's a church and the center work together. Yeah.
But do you want me to tell the story of how he was killed?
Yeah, let's talk about it because it's real.
It is real. So, yes, this boy, a 13-year-old boy, was killed probably about a week or so ago. He is part of the Nexo, which is the youth group of the church that, again, is the community. So the center and the church are connected. And now that we partner, we invite those teenagers as well when we have opportunity to do work with not just the center, but the youth group.
Yeah, so they have their faith. Yeah,
correct. So we're able to also work with those kids. So he's part of Nexo. He was at school, and he had just gotten out of the school, and he's been talking to another girl that I guess he was hitting on, or he's
just being a 13-year-old boy.
13-year-old boy, and kids being teenagers. So they were talking, and apparently this girl she was dating one of the gang members. And because the boy had been hitting on her, the gang member decided to come and shot him in plain daylight. And he shot him in front of the girls that were sitting there and all the parents that were lined up to pick up their children. So it affected the community, and has affected the community a lot, just because it's a 13-year-old. Gangs are taking.
He's part of the youth group at the church.
He's part of the youth group of the church.
And the church, and that church in the center, we'll have a chance to at our event coming up soon. William, who's I know his role's changed recently, but he was a pastor. He was the youth pastor at the church.
Yes.
Volunteers in the center all the time, and there's this kind of relationship where, like you said, it's a whole community thing. It's feeding kids, it's educating them in school, but then also it's providing a spiritual system for them to have relationship with the Lord and to have a church community around them, because they need as many layers of support. I mean, we do.
They can. I mean,
we do
we
too.
all do.
We do, absolutely. And my role, I get to see the layers of support that the church provides. Like, we talk all the time that when life's going great, most people have kind of a consumeristic view of church, where it's like, yeah, I'll go when it's convenient, and I didn't like that. They didn't play my favorite songs. That's not my favorite worship leader. And I like Justin's message better last week. And I'm being playful.
Yeah.
But we do have more of a, was this exactly what I wanted? That's kind of the thought. But man, when crisis hits, all of a sudden your church becomes a very different thing.
Correct.
And it's this support structure, and it's counseling and help and resources and love and prayer. I mean, everything. And they live in that daily. I mean, that's like life is a crisis for most of them on a daily basis. So they need
that support constantly.
And that's one of the things when you're there, the community that they have with each other is, they are so tight knit.
They are. And they're there for each other. It's amazing. It's cool to see it. It's hard to put it in words and explain it.
Yep.
But when we're there and we are able to experience it firsthand, it's cool to see how they come together, and they're there for each other, and they support each other.
And at this point in time, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been on like every trip we've ever taken there. And how many trips has that been now?
Ooh,
like the official His Hands Guatemala trips have been like 12 maybe somewhere 10 to 12 at this point.
Because we started. When did we go? 2007 was our vision trip.
No, 2008. No, it would have been like 2015 or.
15. I mean, that was
maybe 17.
7 is when we.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time.
It's been a long 17, because 18, I think it was our first trip
with the church. We had gone on
we did the vision trip in 2017.
Yeah, I remember it was a long build up. Like 2015, we're like, we need to do something. 2016, we figured out Guatemala. It took time.
2, 4. And then we took a break because of COVID.
Yeah. It's probably been 10 or so.
Close to 10, yeah.
And you've been on all of those?
On all of them.
Are you the only one that's been on all of them? I think you are.
Yeah, except David, who is our member for our nonprofit.
Yeah.
David Arnold. He's been on all of them except the vision trip.
So I'm about to say, I can't remember if he was on that. So yeah, we've got a few people who have, David and Nancy. And so what I'm building to that is, in the early years of us working in Guatemala, we were working through another organization.
Right.
And like I said, we're not going to name that organization just for I mean, lots of reasons.
All I can say is, I'm always grateful for the organization.
Yes.
Because if we would have been for them, we wouldn't have met our
Correct.
current partners.
Correct. Yeah, it was a great. And at first, this organization, which is based here in the States, it's like, man, they were able to set up the trips and
Yes.
get us interpreters and places to stay, and really grateful for that. But as time went on, we just became to be dissatisfied and kind of concerned. I mean, we didn't feel like the organization was necessarily prioritizing the right things with our partners. They were
Right.
taking a pretty good percentage of, it was like half.
Unfortunately.
It was like anytime we would raise money, you have monthly sponsorships, and they would take, I think, close to half of that is what they took.
Yeah, that's when we did the...
So like 45% or 40%, whatever it was. And I understood that. I'm like, they have administrative costs. They have employees in Guatemala, and they're working with our partners, and fine. But I remember like one of the things was we had a big event years ago where we did a big fundraiser.
Yes.
And we put the whole thing on ourselves. We flew Mimi into here, and
Yep.
you were such a huge part of that. And we had this massive event. It was one of the most successful events we've ever had as a church and a fundraiser. And we raised like $100,000.
Yes,
at that
we
event,
did.
which is incredible.
That was a big
But
blessing.
that local American organization was like, well, we get a percentage of that because and I remember being like,
Administrative fees.
but you didn't administrate it. I remember thinking like, we did everything.
Yeah.
So you guys, like, okay, you want 20% of this. You want $20,000, whatever it was. I think it was like 17, or I think we
about
actually
20.
talked them down.
Yeah.
It was 20, and we actually got them to agree to like, I think 13.
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that. But the point is, we as a church did everything. They didn't do anything.
No.
We set everything up, we organized it, and we put it together. And it's like, so we're paying you $13,000 just to take the check from us
And move money.
and move the money to. And I just remember feeling like, I get administrative fees and I get but that just felt so wrong.
Yes.
Because again, none of your people
really
worked on this. You know what I mean? And so that's when like cracks were starting to show, and they had a change in leadership and all of that. But I remember it got to the point where we were so frustrated because we have you who can fly to Guatemala, you have family there, you can call them on the phone. And we were constantly being told not to
have that communication.
Yeah. Communication was always really stifling, and we're like, we just want to talk to him. And then you came to us after a few years of frustration with a different idea.
Yes.
And this was the birth of what is now called Serving God's Children. So tell us that story, because this is a big deal. Yeah.
So, in the mix of us, the church, trying to figure out what would be the best thing to do for our partnership in Guatemala, Sheila and I were looking and thinking what will be our thing to do. And in the conversation with Sheila, and we were at a trip in Guatemala with Sheila, and we were done with the locations that we had gone to visit to figure out which organization we could work with.
Because at that time we were looking at maybe switching to a different. Yeah, we were going to stay with our partner. We're not going to change the people we're working with. But we were like, well, if we're not going to work with this missions organization, let's find some other missions organizations that can
other ones.
Like do a handoff kind of.
Correct.
And you guys went to sort of explore that.
So we were exploring that, and we were done for the day, and we were talking. And Sheila and I had, I've always shared with Sheila, I've had it in my heart to always help. And back in the day when we first started with the church and the mission trips, she knew that I kind of had it in my heart to go back and help. And so we were talking, and she was like, maybe this is it. This is the time for you to really pray about it and see if this is the time, if this is what you're called to do. And I did. I prayed. Eric and I talked. And at this point in our lives, our kids are a little older. The company, we have an awesome team that help us lead the company. And it felt right. And
which, you say it so casually, which is great, but it's kind of like, hey, what if you just started from the ground up, an international missions organization that works with hundreds? Because, we didn't say this. The center we work at, we're not talking about like 20 kids.
No.
It is.
They have between 250 and 300 kids.
250 and 300 kids. Plus their families that they are working with all the time. And they're feeding them, educating them. It's like everything we talked about. Yeah, just, you're a mom. You're raising kids. You also have this full-time business that, while going great, you have a good team. It's still,
it still
you guys
requires
lead it.
us.
You carry the weight of that.
Yes.
Just start an international missions organization from the ground up, and we'll work through you guys. You know what I mean?
Talk about being obedient. It was put in my heart. It definitely has come with a lot of challenges. I think you get tested in so many different ways, putting it together, building it. We gone through, I think our marriage has been challenged through this. We've had our ups and downs. But it is that faith that throughout, I think life kind of molds you, and situations in life helps you grow. And like you said, right, in the hardest times, church is your place to come. And it has been, getting to know who really God is, Jesus. It's just been one thing in life after another. And I think when God put this in my heart to start, he knew Eric and I were ready to kind of work through whatever challenges in our marriage and our family business will come through this. In the moment, it's a being in like a tornado, right? You're in it. It feels like it's a disaster. Everything is going. But something that I'm never going to forget, William, in one of his talks to us when we go to the mission trips, he said, the Holy Spirit is dancing in that tornado. And it is true. Building the nonprofit has not been an easy task at times. We've had our challenges. And yes, I think the enemy, I do believe in that, kind of like tests the kids.
Definitely.
Tests us.
Yeah, Satan doesn't want this to succeed, right?
Correct.
He's going to attack your marriage, your kids, because he wants you to be like, we don't have time for this.
Correct. And so the distractions come in, and it's not like we have a huge team. It's really David, Arnold, Eric, and I as our, the nonprofit. And obviously we have the big support of the church.
Yeah, but you guys are doing,
helps us a lot.
Yeah, we love you guys, but you're doing the work.
Thanks. And so putting it lighter, I guess, of feeling like it has not been a challenge. It has been. We've had our challenges. And every time that I feel like we're about to do something different or changing something, or we're about to go on a mission trip, a challenge comes up.
Right.
And one of the trips that we took, it was our first trip that we went as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Sheila, we do a business trip with the partners in Guatemala because it's just it's a business, and we gotta look at it also to see their visions, what their plans are.
Yeah, you got to make sure that,
and we have a plan.
You got to make sure that side of it's sustainable.
Correct.
Right?
What do we need and things. So we have gone to that trip and coming back. So talk about challenges. As soon as we land, Eric and I were, literally the wheels touched ground, and our son calls us, and he's crying, and he's like, I fell and I busted my head, and he was at a friend's house. And I talked to the parent where he's at, and he's like, yeah, I think they were on a scooter and they were not wearing helmets, and he really hurt his head very bad, and I think he needs to be seen by a doctor. Obviously,
You just landed in Guatemala.
Literally, no,
right.
Here in the States. We had just come back.
You just come back
from the trip.
Okay.
And we were coming back. The trip had been successful. Everything had gone.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you were coming back back. God, this is
great.
You're ready to celebrate.
It's all good. And we come back. We landed and we got the call. And we are at Hartsfield Airport, Jackson Airport.
Yeah.
We're downtown. My kid is probably about an hour from where we are. So we call my brother-in-law, and he is rushing to go get him so we can take him to the children's hospital. So it's like those things and that I feel like we get tested because it puts a lot of stress as a family and, as a couple of you've got to get through it, and you're coming back from serving and doing what's put in your heart, being obedient of God, and
which is energizing but also exhausting at the same time.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. And then you got to come back. And so it's like things like that has been that we've seen the challenges at times, and it's so funny. And now I know, like, I've learned to pray a lot more. That's the other thing. Like, of all of this, it's been good, too, because it's taught me to get closer to God. And I'm not one, in my journey with God, I have not been one to really read the Bible as often back in the day. And now, just... even before starting the nonprofit, being in the mission trips, part of it, and helping, just getting closer to God like that, and reading the Bible more, and reading the Bible verses, and learning more about God. It's been that journey of getting closer to Him and getting to know Him better. So it's been a good thing. But it's been those challenges at times as well.
Well, we think we want God to hit the button and just zap us and give us faith and maturity and knowledge, and everything goes great. And I think it's interesting as you say that. A lot of times we have this conception that if God is involved, everything will go smooth.
Yes.
And that's how you know God's involved, because it went so smoothly. This was a God thing. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's like, wow, you see stories in the Bible where battles are won in ways that they shouldn't. It's like God was involved. Yes. But if you look at the people in the Bible that God was with and they were the closest to God, it's like, I don't think many of their lives any of their lives could be described as like smooth sailing. There's a lot of bumps on those roads. And that's encouraging for all of us, because it means that when life is not cooperating, it doesn't mean that God's not with you. And it doesn't mean that you're not doing exactly what God wants you to do.
Right.
There's just resistance.
Yes.
And sometimes it's Satan. I do believe it is like the devil. And sometimes it's just a broken world fighting you. And that goes all the way back to even the curse that Adam had in the garden, where God was like, you're going to work and toil, but it's like the earth's almost going to fight against you. That's how the world works.
Right.
But yet he's with us through it. And he gives us what we need. He gives us endurance. And you, just like Mimi, so here we go, right? Like go full circle. What drew you to Mimi was her faith.
Yeah.
And then we talked about her obedience. And here you are, and you and Eric have been incredibly faithful and obedient, and you guys have sacrificed a lot of, I'm sure it's been a lot of money, a lot of time. It's just time that's precious, energy. And it's not like you guys have tons of extra anyway. You raising kids, you run a business, it's a lot. But I'm so proud of you guys, and I'm so, honestly challenged. Like even hearing you talk, it reminds me to, like you would think that I work at a church, I must pray nonstop all the time. And sometimes I can get so busy working for God that I don't work with Him. And my day, as I have to go, oh yeah, God, I can do this with you. I've been doing it for you, but I want to do it with you. Years ago, a guy who spoke his hands back in the day, named Ken Kington, put it that way. Like work with God, not for God. And I'm like, I really struggle with that. I really do on a regular basis. I need reminded of that a lot. So thank you. But here we are years later. You said yes to God. Now you've got this organization called Serving God's Children, and it's a nonprofit here in the States that works directly with Guatemala. And now instead of working with another organization, which we don't need to name, we get to work with you guys.
Yes.
And so everything we do in Guatemala now comes from you. And it's been so cool because you guys, I know financially the money goes like directly to the kids and much more than it ever used to. You still have operating costs you got to do.
Yes.
That's fine. That's normal. But it's so much less than that.
Yeah.
And I know when we do this, we got a big fundraiser coming up.
Yes.
And I'm not having to fight you guys on like, well, why is not the money going to the people that need it? You guys, that's not what you're in it for.
No.
And it's so cool.
And that's something that when, again, talking about starting the nonprofit, we see a lot of nonprofit organizations in Guatemala, right? That's just
Yeah, there's a ton of those. Yeah.
that come and help and support. But understanding now how it all operates, having those administrative fees of staying behind within the organization and not really going into the community, it really touched my heart of I wanted to do something different. Not something that I'm making this for profit, is really a nonprofit.
Yeah, and God's positioned you guys. It's funny. It's kind of like us being a one-service church.
Correct.
Like very few churches could even try it because we have a big building and big parking lots around us.
That can accommodate.
Most organizations, like the people running it, that has to be their income too.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But you guys are set up differently. You have this successful business, and you're not looking at this organization as income.
No.
This is like, we want as much to go to the partners as possible. We want to make sure it's sustainable. So yeah, there's some operating costs. That's normal. But just in the last year or two working with you guys, it's been the amount of communication we have. We get to talk to our partners all the time.
Yes.
We know what's going on. We don't have to wait for these like official quarterly reports. Like we can get those. That's great. But
you're free to talk to them whenever you want.
I could pick up the phone right now and call you and say, hey, Jen, could I have a conversation with, and I'm not usually the one doing that. It's usually Sheila.
Yes.
But Sheila could pick up the phone right now and say, Jen, can we talk to Mimi and figure out what?
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, we'll call her today. It's so, it's just been so beautiful.
There's this transparency, and that's a big thing for us. Transparency is very important for the partners, the partnership. Not just with the church here, but with the community, the partners in Guatemala, and our partners here that are supporting us. We are working very hard to have that transparency. So yes, we have our administrative fees that we keep. It's I believe it's about 30%, not 30% of the monthly partnership. But we don't keep anything when we do a special event, or like we have the special projects like the school supplies or anything that they come up with throughout the year that they need help with. Our mission and our goal is to give as much back to that community. So if it's for a specific project, that funds go back. Yeah. No, and you guys have been super transparent, crazy generous. And I mean, it's both set up well, because you could have set it up to where it'll fizzle out one day, but you've set it up to succeed and be sustainable, but also it's just a whole different level. And so selfishly, like, thank you, because all the work and time and toil you've put in has made it a lot easier for us, and we're a lot more confident. That's great. That's our goal. Yeah, of course. And now we're excited because we're working on improving our website and for our partners as well. So one of the biggest things that we've always heard and we wanted to happen as well is for our partners to also be able to communicate with the community. Right. So now when you become a partner, you can pick or select a child or a volunteer, a staff to sponsor, to support. And you'll have that communication within your profile that you can send messages. And you get, and you can talk to them. So we're super excited about that. Yeah. It's been on the works for the past this year, actually. Well, it's easy. All you got to do is set up communication channels between people here in the United States and hundreds of families in Guatemala. How hard is that? Like just, whatever. It's not that bad. Well, you guys have been, and you're always working on it. You're always making it better. And I trust you guys so much with that. And so as we wrap up, if someone's watching this and they want to get involved, like what should they do? I mean, they can go to our website, servinggodschildren.com, and you'll see a section there that says partner or become a partner, and then you'll have the option there. The new website is not live yet, but when the new website comes up, you'll be able to see the pictures of the kids or the pictures of the volunteer staff of the center, and you can select that. Or we will have a section for projects. Yeah, like if you want to contribute to school supplies to that or project like that. Itself. Yeah. So that's how you can come and become a partner with us. Yeah, and I can't recommend it enough. We're going to get the word out a lot over the next few weeks with the big event we've got coming up here at the church. Yes, but just excited. Even in perpetuity, like, man, go to servinggodschildren.com, become a partner. It's an incredible cause, and none of it would be possible if it weren't for people like Mimi. Yes. And William, who said yes to God, but also you and Eric. Like, God called you to do something really hard, and you said yes. And I know he's going to thank you for that one day. Like, I know you're going to get to sit in front of the Lord one day, and he's going to say, hey, thank you for doing what I asked you to do. Because not everybody does that. And you guys are really special. And I feel very blessed and, like I said, challenged to know you guys. And so
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we're very blessed to have you, the church, to have you guys too, and blessed that we've gotten to know you guys and the support that we get from the church. This could not be happening.
Well, this is just, we're still in the early stages. It's going to get better and better.
It's going to get better. So
Jen, thank you so much. Thanks for saying yes to God.
Thank you.
All right.